hello, and welcome to Hunter Fuel, a supernatural rewatch podcast for adults who enjoy their show with a chaser. I'm Liz.
And I'm Lynn.
Thanks so much for joining us for season 1, episode 18, Something Wicked. Mwah. We model responsible drunkenness here. All parties are way over 21. No one is pregnant, and no one will be driving, handling weapons, operating heavy machinery, or using young children as bait. If you're playing along with us, those are the rules. If you decide not to follow them and you do something stupid, don't blame us. Lynn, what are you drinking this evening?
I went back to the old original bourbon.
Okay, bourbon sounds good. So, okay, I need to say something about the featured cocktail for this week.
Oh no. I hear
It
I hear
is, go ahead.
I hear a story coming on.
There's a wee story. So th- the monster this week is a striga, which comes from Albanian folklore. So I went looking for Albanian cocktails. And the traditional drink of Albania is an anisette liqueur called rakia, which is what was in the asylum.
Oh no 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 no.
And forgive me, my SPN family, I couldn't make myself drink it. So, featured cocktail of this episode is called an Albanian Collins, and I'm fairly confident that no one from Albania has ever actually consumed this particular cocktail, but it's in the name and I'm rolling with it. So, an Albanian Collins is 1.5 ounces of whiskey and 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice. And that's it.
That's
I
that sounds like a plan.
It sounds interesting. We're going to find out. And now I like a Kentucky lemonade, which is
Yeah.
essentially bourbon and lemonade. So we're good. Maybe we're going to find
Maybe.
out.
I was gonna say
So
I'm
you
definitely
shake
gonna be
that with,
watching your facial expression for this one.
ugh, yeah, me too. So you shake that with ice, strain, and serve it up. So no more ice. Uh, let's see how this goes. Wizard Dave, can you bring up our supernatural game cards for us, please? You know, I don't think I'm gonna get too many.
I assuming my memory is right, which think it, I don't think I'm gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be insane. It's all gonna depend on whether or actually no. It's. I think I'm gonna be my normal.
Okay, well, normal normal is overrated, but as always, the first one is on the house. So cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that tasted good.
So it's not bad. I would chuck some simple syrup into it and make it a Kentucky lemonade. So while we have our cards out, so
Mhm.
so Lynn, I know you and I were talking about this over the weekend. I realized watching rewatching the video that we did for Route 666 that we missed a trick. And that is that I think if Dean is in bed with a woman, it's safe to say that he has checked her out. So we owe you an electronics flicker from Scarecrow, from when the couple is driving in the cold open and their car stutters and dies. We owe you we now owe you a Dean checks out a woman. Um and we owe you a summoning from Faith. So do you have any of those three?
I am looking. And believe it or not,
You don't have any.
I do have Dean checks. I do have Dean checks out or hits on a woman. I do have
Okay,
that one.
well, grab yourself that one.
Okay, I got that one, and then I do not think, unless I'm totally oblivious, which God only knows, I don't think I have an
We'll find out.
electronic flicker. And remind me which one the third one was.
A summoning ritual.
Yeah, nah. I just could. It's one of those things where you don't like me when as soon as you say someone's name, I forget which one I'm actually looking for. As soon as I'm looking at all these squares, I forget which one I'm actually looking for.
Like when you
Yes.
go to the store for bread and milk and you come home with $200 worth of groceries and none of them are bread or milk.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I do not have a summoning unless I'm oblivious, which
Okay,
again,
so but you said you had Dean checks out a woman?
yep.
Okay, so drink up, my friend.
I'm planning on it. Oh,
All right.
okay.
If you are
So
playing along with us, there is a link in the link tree for you to generate cards of your very own, and good luck. So, with that, let's get this show on the road. We are in our pretty standard cold open here. It's the same one we've been looking at. So we've got, the two brothers going after their dad. Dad hasn't been home in a few days. The day I became a fan. That's why my dad hasn't been home in a few days. Um, We've got some scenes from Bloody Mary. There's some stuff from Wendigo here, some decent number of scenes from the pilot. And here we dump out in Fitchburg, Wisconsin, with a little girl saying her prayers for the evening. And Lynn, did you say this prayer when you were a kid? Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep.
yes, and I don't think I did. It freaks me out.
Well,
Like
I
that
was going to
prayer.
say that.
That like if you really think about what that prayer is saying, that's a creepy ass prayer.
Well, here's the thing. They've changed it now. Like the kids don't say, "If I die
Die
before I
before
wake."
I wake. I was gonna say because I used to. I'm like now for a little bit of history here, which I don't know whether Liz, you and I have ever had this conversation or not. So this might be a learning thing for you. Starting when I was, oh my god, very young. So starting when I was like 2,
Okay.
I lost a relative every time we moved. Well, I moved every 2 years. So
Right, right.
so death became very real to me at a very young age. So
Yeah.
needless to say, as a little kid, I did not like this prayer because yeah, and and of course because I mean, let's be honest, I do not look like I am 20 years old. Was
Not
around
a
during
day
the
over
Tylenol.
25.
Yeah, no, it's like there were quite a few things that happened that it's like, okay, the Tylenol scare and all that. So it's like, yeah, no, I hated this prayer because death was something I was very aware of. So yep,
Sure.
I hated
Well,
it.
and they've changed it now because
Mhm.
so I see you've paused it.
Yes.
But so we if let's get through this, and then if there was a comment you wanted to make,
Yes.
we'll pause it again. But she
Okay.
goes through this, and it's they've changed it now to uh, keep me safe till morning light, and I'm like, you know, if your parents haven't sent you to bed terrified, they might have done you a disservice. So I also love while it's paused here, the little girl's about to get into bed after saying her prayers, and you can see that they've draped just a ton of clothing over the mirror, and I'm assuming it's to hide the camera in the mirror. So instead, she's just a very messy little girl who has draped all of her clothing over the mirror she's too short to reach. So, Lynn, was there a comment you wanted to make?
So yeah, so I just now this keeps coming back to me constantly throughout this episode, but does that very, very first shot of the house not does that not scream pilot vibes to you? Because that's the very
Yes.
first thing I thought of when I saw that shot of the house is that screams the pilot to me.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And especially, we're about to see something, and I had made this comment when we watched the pilot was, you can see the shadows of the tree reflected on the house and they
Mhm.
curl in very claw-like
Yep.
toward the room that we learn is Sam's nursery. And we're about to see a shot that's reminiscent of that. So that is a good catch on your part. I hadn't thought of it that way before, but as soon as you said it, I'm like, oh yes. And because of the visual storytelling language of the show, it does kind of signal to us that something really terrible is about to happen in
Oh
this
yeah.
house, just like we saw in the pilot. Yeah, well spotted.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love this, the way the shadows and everything, like,
Yeah.
oh, it's so reminiscent and
I,
awesome.
yeah, I
So
agree.
awesome.
Well spotted. All right, so we're moving on here. The little girl is getting into bed, and we find out that the mother is at the hospital with the sister, that the sister has gotten sick and is in the hospital. We've got a family photo of two parents with two little girls. And so the older sister has been taken to the hospital. She's sick. Mom is staying with her. So the
Yeah.
dad is putting Monkey Puss to bed.
I love
Uh,
that nickname.
Monkey Puss. Um, so now she's trying to sleep, and this
But
this
if you
room is
watch
freaking
her
creepy.
eyes, I feel like she senses something, like, from the get-go, like, she's waiting for something to happen
Yeah.
here.
Well, I mean, this is a freaky ass looking tree. To
Yeah.
your point about, a call kind of something evoking the feeling of the pilot. We've got these shadowy branches banging up
Yeah.
against the side of the house. They're casting these creepy ass shadows. And then out of the shadow of the tree, this very like long fingered clawed hand. Just even the teddy bear looks freaky in these
Yeah, I
shadows.
just
Like
yeah, I love this. She closes the curtains of a sheer curtain.
they're sheer
Like
curtains.
like that like, that's going to do something. I'm like, "Seriously? Has no one considered a curtain?" Oh, and then you see that hand. Oh
Yeah,
god, that creepy ass hand.
it's so creepy, and I love this shot here of the little girl with just her eyes peeking out over the comforter. Like, this is really filmed so well, and you see
Mhm.
just, like, her brow furrow. This little kid does such a great job, like, oh, and you see that freaky
Oh,
hand, like, pull the comforter down. Emperor Palpatine comes and, like, that you've got that glow in the mouth. Little girl starts screaming, and
yeah.
now we've got our title card. So, the boys are driving, and now here's
Yeah.
something fun. So at the bottom of the screen, it reads Something Wicked, which is the
Yeah.
title of the episode. If you look at the episode in sort of the list of episodes on Netflix, it lists it as Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yes.
Oh, and we have a Sammy, so I'm going to
Yeah.
pause it. And we'll check our cards in just a second to see if either one of us has a Sammy. But once again, they've gotten some coordinates from Dad,
Yes.
and they're headed to Fitchburg, Wisconsin. And we're gonna hear a little more from Dean. Something shifty is going on here that
Yep.
we're gonna find out a little bit more in a second.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Sorry,
but it is kind of
I
fun.
had to
Go ahead.
I had to resist the urge to say something there because 'cause I'm sure people could tell my mouth was half open there for a second. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna hold my tongue for a change in pace."
You don't have to.
Well, because it would have been a spoiler
Oh,
for the
okay. Well,
which is why, because to
okay. So
me,
we're just going to be patient.
yes, exactly. Trust me,
Okay.
my comment's coming.
Okay.
It's just going to wait a minute.
We're gonna be patient. Okay. So let's check our cards and see if either one of us have a Sammy on our Supernatural game cards.
Yeah.
And I do not. Do you have one?
I'm scanning. I have. I don't
Buffering.
think I
Buffering.
do.
I do not.
Nope. It's
All
fine because I
right.
almost always have it.
Goose eggs for us. Hopefully,
Dang
hopefully
damn
you're
it.
having better luck at home.
Yeah.
Okay, hitting play.
I say the one thing
And
I just want to say about that scene a little
yeah,
while ago is, did it not throw you a little bit that that little
pausing
kid
it.
took so long to scream? That's the only
No.
thing about that scene that remotely fazed me, is like she sees this creepy thing come into her bedroom and just lays there. I'm like,
You know, I I hear where you're coming from, and the reason it didn't bump for me is because that's very normal. Like, as much as, movies and television have trained us to think that people react instantly. A lot of times it takes a few seconds for your brain to process because our default setting is everything is normal. Um, like okay, I'm trying not to say this and I'm just going to say it, but there really tragically here in Pennsylvania there was just a shooting yesterday,
yes,
2 days ago, sorry. And one of the comments I've been seeing, it was a crowd, and nobody reacted at first. And I've been hearing more than one person say, like, well, why are people just sitting there? And I'm like,
yeah,
that's what crowds always do. Because, and I know this little girl is not in a crowd, but that's human beings. It's exacerbated if we're in a crowd. It, we assume everything is normal, and it takes a second for your brain to comprehend, no, this is not normal. Plus, honestly, it's actually kind of difficult to scream when you're scared because everything, your throat tightens up, and a lot of times people don't make anywhere near as much noise as you would expect.
okay.
But
Well,
anyway,
I was gonna say, you being the psych major, you would know quite more about a lot more about this than I would.
well, again, I don't want to overstate my credentials, but yeah, that happens quite a bit in horror films, though. To your point, that there is this like beat, and you see the person like. Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Uh,
back to the boys in the car. We've hit play, and Dean is saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure there's something killing people in Fitchburg. I don't know that this is our kind of gig," which is something a little unusual to be hearing from Dean, that dad has sent them on a mission and he's not immediately diving on it. Um so
mm,
got this really extreme close look up at the Fitchburg sign. Um Dean
and
is talking. Go ahead.
as I read the first time I watched this, I was like, okay, he's got a coffee cup. Now, when the hell is he
No.
gonna drink from it?
Drink it. Drink
Drink
it.
it!
Drink it.
Drink
Drink.
it!
No.
Dang
Freaking
damn it!
Dean, man.
It's like, come on.
Carrying the coffee cup around and he doesn't even drink it. So entertainingly enough, if you're paying close attention, you'll see that Fitchburg is spelled two different ways depending on what sign you're looking at.
I saw it. Oh,
Um, and Sam notices there's this playground here in town that
Yep.
there are no children playing in the playground after school has let out. So he knows something is weird, that there's like one little girl climbing around on the monkey bars. Strange man walks up to this woman by herself at a monkey bar, starts asking about the kids, and nobody's suspicious. Um, this actor here, her name is Erica Carroll, the actor playing the mom here. We're going to see this actor later in the series in a different role. So if you've got a nagging feeling she looks familiar to you, she does. You've seen her. So she tells Dean the kids are all at the, oh, we have a dude.
Yep.
Um, Pausing it here. We'll check our cards in a second that
I was
we
saying
do have
because
a
we're also
dude.
about to have a fake ID as well.
We are going to have a fake ID, and I have something I want to say about the fake ID. But before we get there, um,
Sorry.
and-
I know what the fake
um,
ID says, and it cracks me up.
oh yes, the fake ID is hilarious. So while we have it paused, we're gonna look at our cards for. I have a fake ID.
I feel like I
I
might.
do
I have a fake
not.
ID as well.
Okay, fantastic. Do you have a dude? Because I do not.
I do. I do.
Oh, so
I
you
do.
have two. You
I
need to pour yourself an extra.
yes, I do. I have a dude. All right. Oh my lord. All right. So
Oh,
cheers.
cheers. So before we get moving again, the the argument Sam and Dean are having is that Dean has given their pretext is that they are from the CDC. And they've been sent to figure out what's going on with the children, coming into the hospital. And the fake ID that Dean has given Sam is a bikini inspector.
Inspector.
So in the official companion volume for this season, there is a close-up image of the bikini inspector badge, and it reads, "Official bikini inspector. This agent is authorized to operate at any beach, park, backyard pool party, or warm climate locale in the world. No restrictions or limitations are to be placed on their visual or physical inspections. Violators will be subject to tickling and spanking. Badge number 36D."
Oh, that's fucking awesome. That is freaking hilarious. Oh my god.
So
Oh, that's so wrong and so good all at the
it's
exact same time.
okay. Let's all right. If any person actually attempted to like physically inspect your bathing suit and you felt the need to physically defend yourself, technically you have been assaulted. I'm not a lawyer, but excuse me.
As, as a
But
believe me.
it's a joke. It's a joke.
As a do not get me wrong. I am not for anyone inspecting anyone against their will. For this purpose, it is hilarious.
Correct. Correct. There's a joke here, and it's funny. Okay, so they're having this battle, and Dean is saying, she's probably not even gonna ask for it. So it's all about confidence. Sammy turns him around to face the receptionist, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Dr. Jerry Kaplan." And she immediately says, "Can I see some ID?" And Dean's like, yeah, yeah, of course. So he's trying to like quick flash this badge at her before she can get a good look at it. And
Yeah.
immediately she's like, "Oh yeah, the pediatrics ward is upstairs. You'll see all the kids." Like they're just gonna let two guys with a
Just
suspicious badge
go right
up into a
upstairs.
pediatrics ward. So we're gonna suspend some disbelief here. So the brothers walk up to pediatrics and they walk past this elderly woman with like very long, kind of creepy grizzled hair in a wheelchair, and she gives Dean a hell of a hairy eyeball.
Mhm.
And he notices she has a cross upside down nailed to the wall of her room. So this is a pretty creepy.
Which immediately makes him suspicious.
He's suspicious. So they're walking and he even does kind of a look back. So we're supposed to remember this lady. They come to see Dr. Heidecker, who this actor will also appear again later in the series. So we'll talk about him more then. But Dr. Heidecker is saying he's got 6 cases in 5 weeks. They don't know what it is, but the children are kind of falling into a coma and their bodies are shutting down. They can't figure out what's wrong. The immune systems are just not functional. Um, Woman comes up, she appears to be a nurse, and she says, "This is weird. It spreads through families. Like it works its way through siblings in the same family before moving on to another family." Dean asks if they can talk to the kids, and the nurse tells them no one's conscious. So they ask to speak to the parents. And you can see Dr. Heidecker is like, well, if you think it'll help, and um, like, yeah, of course it's
Yeah.
gonna help. So he's being a little shifty here.
Yes.
They go talk to the father that we saw in the cold open. So now both of his daughters are in the hospital inside of 24 hours. He's
Mm.
clearly distressed, as you would be if, both of your children are ill and the doctors don't know what to do. So he's kind of blaming himself. He's saying that there was an open window and he can't remember whether the first little girl's window was open or not, but his younger daughter, he knows for certain that he closed the window, and that it was latched when he put his daughter to bed. Um, the boys are still discussing whether this is something supernatural or not. The fact that the window, nobody knows who opened the window is a little suspicious. Um, but Dean starts to think like, I know I was dubious before, but maybe there is something going on here. So realizing that both of the parents and both kids are at the hospital, they take the opportunity to come check out the house with nobody home. That is a
Is
black light. But Dean
as an
has, I
EM
believe,
as an EMS EMF
Dean has an
detect.
EMF detector. So let's pause this here, take a look at our cards, and see if either one of us has an EMF detector.
I feel like I
I
do.
don't.
Maybe. I
Nope,
do not.
no
Dang
EMF detector
it.
for me.
No, no,
None for me.
no.
Wow,
Boo.
cards are stingy. I'm a
Well,
little
I,
sad.
well, that just means we might have to get creative.
Yeah, we might start to cheat in a minute.
Yeah. So now, to me, and I think we're far enough into this episode that I can make my one comment now that we're
Okay.
paused. To me, even before we go any farther in the episode, it's very clear that Dean is hiding something.
Mm.
Like it's you
Dean's
his
being sketchy.
Dean has been sketchy this entire episode. Like we don't know why yet,
Right.
but it's clear Dean is hiding something.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, again,
body la
just the fact that he didn't immediately dive on an order from dad is out of character.
yeah, no, like there's so much about this episode that just is is awesome about
This
like
is a
this.
big one.
Yeah.
This is a really good one. So, okay, I'm hitting play. So Sam is checking out the window, which is now closed and latched. He opens the window and he notices that there is this handprint on the window where the wood has like corroded away in this very kind of creepy thing. We've got this extreme close up of Dean and this little smattering of freckles, and it transitions
Oh.
into young Dean, also with this little smattering of freckles across his nose. I'm going to pause this briefly because one, we have a quirky motel room
Hotel
here,
room.
so we
Yep.
need to check our cards for that. And so this actor, his name is Ridge Kenite, and I think, again, he's a young actor, but I think he does a pretty good job for a
Yes, he
kid
does.
with
Yes, he
this
does.
role. So we've got Jeffrey Dean Morgan back as dad, and we see dad setting this shotgun here. So let's take a look at our cards and see if either one of us has a quirky motel room.
I
Uh,
feel like I might, or at least I had a wack. At least I have a wacky diner. I mean, I have a quirky hotel room.
I
I
I
don't. God
don't.
damn it! Dang
This is
damn it!
bullshit.
I know.
All
Ah.
right.
And of course, I say that right as I'm looking at son of a bitch. That happens to me quite often. That I'll be like, son of a, and I'm like looking right at that square.
Right at it. It
Yeah.
speaks to you. So, all right.
Yes.
Moving on.
Moving
So,
on.
so John is getting ready to go out and he's leaving instructions for Dean. And he's saying, if he's not back by Sunday, go to go to Pastor Jim, call Pastor Jim. So we heard Pastor Jim referenced previously in Asylum, so episode 10 of this season. And he's one of the rules that he leaves for Dean is most important, watch out for Sammy. So Dean's got two rules here. Watch out for Sammy and shoot first, ask questions later. Like these are the two things John specifically says to him
And
before leaving for a couple of days. Uh
which is
little
not the
Sammy here is
traditional
go
which
ahead.
is not the traditional thing you say to a kid that size is shoot first, ask questions later.
Well, they are not a traditional family.
No,
Um
they are not. But
So this is something that they've talked about, like in Bugs, it came up a
yeah.
lot. Where Sam says in that episode, our childhood was jacked. So this is the first time we start to see, like in by way of flashbacks, we see just how jacked their childhood was. Um, Go
The
ahead.
other thing, and I don't know if this does it bother you or not that like he has this whole conversation with Dean. Doesn't like Sam doesn't acknowledge his father is leaving. He doesn't
Nope.
say, "All right, Sam, see you in a couple of days, bud.
Nope.
Listen to your brother." Nothing. Like there is no interaction
No.
between the father and the young and Sam. Like
No.
that really just struck me.
Yeah, no, good catch. You're absolutely right. That Sam is glued to his Thundercats. Now, did you watch Thundercats as a kid?
I don't believe so. I was now my folks were not into cartoons like pretty much at all. Like
Neither
I
were
didn't
mine.
well, true, but
You
like
didn't
I
watch
didn't
them with me.
yeah, no, but like I didn't even see like a Disney movie until I was like 15.
Wow.
Um yeah, no. I don't even think I've watched Bambi from beginning to end. Um but yeah, no, like it like I the Smurfs was like the first one I really watched and I think I was
Mm.
12.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that you moved frequently and you lived overseas for a bit, but when I was so I don't know what cartoons would have been available to you, and apparently you don't know either
I
because
have no
your
clue.
parents were wardens who wouldn't let you watch cartoons.
I mean, I remember the only thing I really remember at 6 years old was Dallas.
Dallas,
Like
oh boy, questionable parenting choices.
I
Man's
clearly
named
remember
John.
watching I remember
But you
watching
watched
that
Dallas at
very
6.
yeah, I started watching Dallas when I was 6 years old.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
great parenting.
but yeah, no, I genuinely, unless I was in Chicago, I don't remember watching cartoons, and then I'm
Okay,
99%
well,
positive that was not the one we were watching.
the Thundercats was my show when I
Ah,
was a big fan of Thundercats growing up. So I saw that on the TV, a little like I have a I have a T-shirt with the Thundercats logo on it, and it's the only time in my life I'll let anybody look at me and holler.
that's funny.
Okay, so yes, Sammy is glued to the boob tube here. He doesn't even seem to notice that Dad is gone, which I think says something about to your point, says something about the dynamics in this family here. And so this is the point where Dean says, "I know what this is. Dad faced it before. It got away. Dad sent us here to finish the job."
Yeah, and you
Uh,
can tell in that scene, Dean's shaken to the core. Like,
he's
just
yeah,
the facial expression,
yep,
and suddenly Sam, I feel like, is realizing this is bigger than I thought. Like, just the
yeah.
to me, his face said that.
I agree. I agree. So Dean is telling Sam that this is a striga. It's something that um Sam is not familiar with. It's not in the journal. Dean says it was 16 or 17 years ago. So at this point, Dean is 27. So 16 or 17 years ago, he would be 10 or 11 in the flashbacks, and then Sam is 4 years younger.
Yep.
Um, they, um, to your point here, Sam is starting to see like, okay, Dean's definitely
Like,
hiding
hi.
something. And he's
Oh
like, how
yeah.
do you know about all this? It's not even in the journal. They go to check. Well, Sam waits out in the car. Dean comes in to check into the motel, and the little boy comes out and he says, "King or two queens?" Dean says, "Two queens," and the kid says, "Yeah, I'll bet." So they've got a couple jokes that don't land quite as well as they would have in 2005. But the kid is insinuating that Sam and Dean are a couple because all couples get two separate beds. You little
Of course.
shit. The mom comes in. She says to the boy, we're going to learn his name is Michael. Go take care of your brother. And so Dean sees the older brother making dinner for the younger brother, and it clearly stirs up some memories for him. And it leads
Yeah.
us into a flashback where he's making dinner for Sam. Um, this bothers me a little bit. He's made spaghettios.
Yeah, I was
Sweet
starting to
potato.
wonder whether it was the dinner or the milk carton, because the milk carton is almost identical in both scenes.
Well, yeah, you see like the brother pour milk to Dean pour milk. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're absolutely right. What triggered the memory is the milk, I think. But we got this scene of Dean making spaghettios for Sam, but Sam doesn't want the spaghettios. He wants the some kind of frosted, I think it's Lucky Charms.
Charms, yeah.
Um that they're well, usually they make up a cereal that they don't
Yeah.
flat out call it Lucky Charms. But you see already Dean, like he says he hasn't had any yet, and he gives it up for his brother. So you see already that there's this dynamic with John that just John expects Dean to do whatever he needs to do to take care of Sam. And so here he is at 10, already kind of making decisions to put his brother first.
So Is it just me, or did it also bother you that he threw out the other dinner and
So much.
didn't just eat it himself?
So much. Yeah. Like clearly whoever wrote that scene has never been poor. Like if you don't know where your next meal is coming from, you don't throw perfectly good food into the trash.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I get giving your younger brother the cereal, nice thing to do. Then you eat the spaghettios.
Right.
You don't chuck them.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. While you have it paused,
Yep.
Dean is finally drinking his fucking coffee. So let's take a look at our supernatural game cards and see if either one of us has
Dean
Dean eats or
eats
drinks.
or
I
drinks.
have Dean drinks.
Let
Finally.
let me see if I do. And guess what? To everyone's shock, I don't.
I do. All right.
Alrighty.
Oh, it's very tart.
Oh no! Oh no!
So Dean is finally drinking his coffee, and here's where Sam has looked it up online, and he's giving Dean the excuse me, giving Dean the lore on the Striga. This purple T-shirt that Sam is wearing with the Greyhound on it, it's kind of silly. But there was a convention years ago, somebody gifted Jared with a reproduction of the T-shirt. So every once in a
Oh,
while, you'll see Jared at a convention wearing the purple Greyhound T-shirt.
very cool.
So Sam is saying the Striga cannot be killed, and Dean says, "No, no, that's not right. You've got a blaster with consecrated iron rounds." And Sam is like, "Well, how do you knew that?" "Oh, Dad told me. I remember." And you can see in Sam's face, like, well, now wait a minute. When we were checking into the motel, you said you didn't remember anything. So, which is it? Do you remember or do you not remember? Um, Dean continues to be cagey, and you could see Sam is like, okay, I'm letting this go for now, but there's a limit to
This
how
will
long I'm going to let you pull this.
yeah, I was gonna say this will get revisited.
This is going to get visited, yeah. Um, so there Um, sorry, I just keep giggling over Sammy calling them spaghettios. It reminds me of your daughter when she was calling they were spaghettos, not
Yep.
mosquitoes, they were spaghettos. Um, so they decide Sam says that the Striga can disguise itself as anyone, typically an old woman, which reminds Dean of the lady with the inverted cross hanging on her wall back at the hospital. So the boys have apparently completely given up on pretending to be with the CDC, and they show back up at the hospital in their street clothes. Um, they're they're gonna get to this lady's room. So entertainingly enough, oh, and they pass Dr. Heidecker. So they're like, do, we're not here. We're not here. You've paused it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, is it just me, or did you notice Dr. Heidecker's eyes?
I did not notice anything specific about them. What did you see? I'm backing it up a bit.
To
Let's see.
me, I mean, maybe I've just watched too many. I not this show too long because you've watched too much
What are
of,
we what
but
are we looking for?
just the facial expression and just the dead eyes. Like to me, it's like okay. I just feel like it's like that was kind of a massive hint as to
Oh,
what is going on.
okay, so you're not saying that you saw, like, an eye flare, like it was a
No, no,
shifter
no, 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 no,
or
no, no,
no,
no,
just
no. It
the
was just that,
performance.
yeah, just in his performance, like that, just that dead eye
Yeah,
that we have seen several times beforehand. That as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I've seen this before, and
yeah.
have a strong suspicion I know where this is going.
Yeah. Well, the I'm gonna hit play here. So this lady that they're coming to see, we're gonna find out is a red herring here. So
Yes.
entertainingly enough, this actor um is her name is Mary Black. She's only 55 years old. And
What?
she the key
Okay, that's one
hairstylist.
hell of a makeup job.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So she's in room 237, which is a Shining reference. Key hairstylist Jeannie Chow and makeup artist Shannon Coppin in the companion volumes, they had to push their skills to the limit to make this very spry 55-year-old woman, to like radically change her look like this. So
Does
everything is
this
old to her.
also not only remind, sorry, I didn't want to pause it, but I don't want to lose the moment either. Um, not only really remind you of Psycho?
Well, yeah, except she's alive.
Well, no, just the way the hair was in the back, like
Oh
that.
yeah, the creepy hair,
Yeah, and all
lady in a
that.
chair. Yeah, and so she has some pretty, substantive cataracts. You can see her eyes are very foggy. She's scared the ever living shit out of Dean. He was nice and close to her, and she's like, "Who's there?" And he throws himself back against the wall, and she's pointing out, "Are you gonna fix this damn crucifix on my wall? I've asked 4 times." And Dean just taps it, and it just spins the right way around. So I don't know how a blind woman who was sleeping with her peepers open knew that it was upside down, but she did, and now it's been fixed. So she was a red herring.
Now,
Um,
now, just
hmm,
because, well, because you and I are both very faith driven, to be picky, technically that is not a crucifix, it is a
not a
cross
crucifix.
because it does not depict Jesus
A
on it.
crucifixion.
Yes, exactly. It does not depict the crucifixion. It is
That is
literally just a cross.
It's a
So,
cross. It is not a crucifix. Okay, so hang on. All right, folks, I'm just gonna tell you here. Lynn and Wizard Dave already know this. For the first time in my life, I have gotten progressive lenses, and I'm still getting used to them. And so you're gonna see me going like, where can I fucking see? Trying to figure like what I want to look at and where I've got to hold my head to be able to see it is giving me motion sickness. So you're going to see me doing some odd stuff in this episode. But yes, so so they were going for kind of an old crone look for her here. So she was a red herring. The cross has been righted, and now
yeah.
they are now left without a suspect. Uh, Back in the motel, we've got again these like creepy branch shadows on the room. Michael and his younger brother Asher
Ugh.
are asleep in the same room in separate beds, Michael. And again, this like creepy hand lifting up the window,
Yeah.
breaking into the motel while Sam and Dean were at the hospital. They get back to the motel, and uh, Sam is just continuing to take the piss out of Dean for getting scared by the old woman. And he's like, "I nearly smoked that old gal, I swear."
Yeah.
Uh,
Now, I I just want to say real quickly,
mhm.
the one thing about that is that they did not have a lot of they pretty much didn't have any hard evidence on that woman
No,
whatsoever.
correct.
To me, it was a little out of character for the boys to just potentially go in and to quote Dean smoke her without having a lot of solid hard evidence.
You're absolutely right, and I'm gonna say more about that a little later in the episode. Excuse me. I think how I interpret what we saw in the motel room is Sam is saying exactly what you are, that this is weak tea.
Yeah.
And Dean is like, "Well, she had an upstone crucifix." Like, as pretty much as soon as Sam said they can disguise themselves as an elderly woman, Dean was like, "All right, let's go. Let's like." He's clearly very invested in finding
Yeah.
this thing that's killing these kids. So while you have it paused here, they're getting out of the car back at the motel and they spot Michael sitting on a
Yes.
bench in front of the office. And Dean immediately notices something is not right with Michael.
Yeah.
And this is something that we've seen previously in episodes like Dead in the Water, where Dean is exceptionally good with particularly traumatized kids. So he spots right away Michael is not okay. He immediately drops like he virtually cuts Sam off mid-sentence to go see what's going on with Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna hit play. Dean is on his
Yep.
way over to Michael, and they're about to
Mhm.
find out that Michael's younger brother, Asher, has gotten sick and has gone to the hospital. And uh, Michael is blaming himself. He's saying it's my fault. I must have left the window unlocked. My brother wouldn't be sick if I had made sure that the window was latched. And Dean says, "Listen to me. I can promise you this is not your fault." Now, we're going to find out in a bit the reason Dean is saying this is because Dean is convinced it's his fault. So he's confident this is not Michael's fault, it's Dean's. And to your point, Dean is desperate and not necessarily making well thought out choices to end this because as far as Dean is concerned, all of these kids' lives are on him, which we're going to talk a little bit more about later. I think this is a little weird. Did you want to say something before I
Yeah.
make an comment?
Yeah. Well, I think, and I'm could be the fact that I've had just a couple shots to drink, but
Although not
clear.
that many stingy cards.
I know, but I feel like we had to have said this before, and I'm just forgetting about it.
Hmm.
Clearly, I mean, it's Dean sees himself in this kid.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
not only just in the flashbacks. I mean, you'd have to live under a rock in this episode not to see that. But
Yeah, but the
just in
flashbacks are the way they communicate what you're saying. That
yeah,
yeah, that it's that absolutely Dean sees himself in Michael and he sees Sam in Asher. And in
yeah,
both the flashbacks and here, to your point earlier, Sam just sat in the chair like a lump. And Asher has no lines. So the story is really focusing on Dean and Michael, and the brothers are kind of props in their stories.
yeah, and I just and even I mean, I give the little kid a tremendous amount of credit in this
All of them.
because he's playing basically not the younger Dean, but basically almost a younger Dean
Yeah.
to a T, and he's not even supposed to be a younger Dean, but he practically is.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I
Yeah, I
completely
mean,
agree.
it's brilliant.
Yeah. No, this episode is written really well. I like this one a lot.
Mhm.
The way that they tell this story without I'm a big fan of episodes that show don't tell. And I think that
Yes.
this story they do a really good job of they give you everything you need to figure this story out, but they do it visually. They don't need to do it with dialogue. They trust the actors to deliver the performances to get you there. And
Yes.
I think this one's really well done.
Absolutely,
Yep.
1000%. Okay.
So, um, so I'm gonna hit play here. Something that I think is really bizarre. I mean, clearly the mother is distraught. Her son has gone to the hospital. Other people in town, their kids are in the hospitals, and his kids are in the hospital, and it's bad. But like, okay, are you seriously gonna let you're gonna let a strange man, you're gonna hand a strange man your car keys and let him drive you to the hospital
Oh,
and leave your son with another strange man. Like, okay, I get that she's distraught. This this is some convenient storytelling to me. Yeah, like I don't see, no matter how distraught she is, I don't see a mom doing this.
I mean, we've always said that, because I mean, I've commented on that before. We've always said that Dean and Sam can get people to do
Yeah,
things that no other person would ever do. It's
no.
like, okay. And I mean, I get they're good looking and got those baby blue eyes, but really?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I mean, as you said, it's they need it for the story, but yeah, I mean, the those baby
yeah,
blue eyes get them in. I mean, I don't even know if their eyes are actually blue. It's just an expression.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, those eyes get them
yeah.
insanely far.
Sam's puppy dog eyes, which are hazel, but they look different colors depending on the lighting and what he's wearing and stuff. So
Yeah.
on occasion, Jared's eyes are blue. Um,
Hmm.
and then Jensen has green eyes, which they'll comment on in later episodes. I do I paused it briefly. I love this footage of Sam sitting in front of the microfiche projector, and you can see the words projecting on his face. And so this was state of the art technology 30 years ago.
I say I remember using those
Oh, yeah,
regularly.
absolutely, absolutely. So, for those of you who were born after 2000, it was they would take big periodicals like newspapers, and they would scan them, and they would photograph them literally, and then like make them super duper tiny and put, so you could get like the whole newspaper onto one sheet, and then
Yeah.
you would put it into this projector, and the projector would magnify it and project it on a screen so that it was big enough for you to read. In the days before the internet, that's when you had to go get a physical copy. You put it in the microfiche machine.
Yeah.
um so yeah, I think we were still, like, we had access to the internet when we were in college, and we rode
Yeah.
dinosaurs to class, but you had to go to the computer center. There was no Wi-Fi. There was no
No.
Wi-Fi,
No,
period.
no, the
You
no.
had to have a landline, and we didn't have connections in the dorms, so you had to go to the computer center. There
Yeah, no,
were
and like I vaguely remember though somehow being able to print that out though in college. Like I vaguely
Yeah,
remember being able to do that.
we did. It was a dot matrix printer with
Yes,
the
yes,
paper with
I
the
do.
hole
Oh
inside, and you
yeah,
had to you
you
had
had
to
to,
tear them off
and you
after
had
your
to
ink
pray
finished.
it didn't jam because how else
Oh, please
did
don't
you go?
jam, you were host.
Oh my god, I remember that way too
We
well.
prayed not to die in our sleep, and we printed out our papers, and we didn't have Wi-Fi back in the Stone Age.
Stone Age. That, and we remember the days before text messages. When you
Oh,
actually had to
there
have
were
a
no cell
conversation.
phones.
Yeah, no, there were no cell phones. I still remember having to drive around without a cell phone. Now I don't know how I
Yep.
do it, but I still remember that.
Yeah, no, we had a friend, and
Matt?
then we're gonna go back to the episode. We
Yeah.
had a friend
Oh god, I
who
remember that.
came from a family that had they were a little bit higher socioeconomic bracket than ours, and he had a mobile phone wired
Why?
into his car.
Yeah.
Like, you would
I
lift up the center console, and there was like a handheld receiver Like, it was a phone. It was a
Yes,
regular full-on phone
phone.
wired into the car with a cord that he would pick up. So
Yeah, I will still never forget, and just on that, because it directly connects, he picked me up from the airport and told me what kind of car it was, and no, I'm not gonna mention what kind of car. And I remember thinking, "Okay," to look for a beater of that car, because in my head, we're
that's what
in
we all
college.
drove.
Yeah,
If we even had cars, which most of
I
us
was
didn't.
gonna say I didn't have a car, um, and it never occurred to me to look for a new
A
one
shiny
of
new one.
that car until he drove up in this gorgeous fucking car, and I'm like, "Holy shit!"
The Baroness. Yes,
Yeah, the
she had a name.
Baroness.
The
Oh my
Baroness,
god.
and she hated me. Oh, she hated me.
Oh, I love that
So
car. I
coming
never
with us.
tried to drive her. I never
Good.
asked to try and drive her.
I
Um,
didn't ask either. I didn't ask either, but there was a period of time he was teaching me to drive a manual transmission,
yeah,
and
I've
he showed
never
up in that
once.
car, and I had a panic attack. That was not good. Well, thanks for coming with us down that trip down memory lane, but here we are looking at microfiche. By 2006, when this episode aired, they had cell phones, and the boys are talking on cell phones. And Sam reveals that he's looking at a photo of Dr. Heidacker taken in 1893. So they realize Dr. Heidacker is the Striga. And and you
Now,
can just
because
see Dean's got murder in his face as he turns around and he's looking at the doctor, and this guy is not long for this world. If Go ahead.
yeah. Now, just based on, and it just dawned on me where that picture
Mm,
looks familiar from. Because I assume, knowing you, now I did look and I didn't notice it when I did my
mm,
research on that actor, but you're a tad bit more observant than I am.
mm.
Was the actor who played the doctor, was he in Twilight by chance?
Oh, that is a good question I do not have the answer to.
Because he looks like the father. He looks very much in that picture, not on screen today, not in the screen,
Yeah,
in
I
that.
see why you would say that. It's not the same actor,
Okay.
but, in Twilight, yes, folks, we've seen Twilight.
Yes.
And, there and his name is escaping me, but the actor who so
uh,
Edward's father is a doctor,
yes.
and there's some photos of him, old-timey photos, that look similar to the photo we just saw in the newspaper. So I know why you would say that, but it's not the same actor.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Thank you. No, that just when I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, is that who that might? But yeah, at least they do look similar.
And at least in how long it's been since we've seen the movie Twilight, it's I can see why you would make that connection. Okay, hitting play, there it goes. And yeah, Dean's just got death in his eyes. And now
Oh
I'm
god.
freaked out at how long this guy's fingernails are. Like ever since I saw oh goodness, there's an old creepy film with Mickey Rourke called Angel Heart. And the devil in that has those long fingernails, and ever since then I have not been able to stand a dude with long fingernails. It just creeps me out. But you've got Dean here doing everything he can not to just tear this guy into little pieces. And
That
especially like the doctor, like, puts his hand on Dean's shoulder, and you can just feel the rage. We've got a son of a bitch.
yeah.
So, let's take a look at our cards here, see if either one of us has a son of a bitch.
I know I do because I just said it earlier.
You said it a moment
Um
ago.
well, that, and also you can see how Dean
I
is
do not.
evading evading every question the doctor says.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it's
you know
just
what? While we're here, the boys are about to have
a
a
heartfelt
heartfelt
broken.
moment. So let's check that while we're here. And I do
And,
have one of those.
and I do not.
Okay, so one each.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that tastes so good.
Okay, hitting play. Um, so and like Dean is so worked up, he's like putting a cold washcloth on his neck. He's saying like it took everything he had not to just empty a clip into this guy in the middle of a pediatrics ward. Um, he's absolutely infuriated that he was like toe to toe with this guy and couldn't do anything about it because the Striga is only vulnerable when it feeds. We started to talk about this a little earlier and we
Yeah.
got distracted. That Sam believes they're invulnerable. There's no way to kill them. And that's when Dean says, no, you just need consecrated iron rounds. So here's the part where Dean starts to say they're only vulnerable when they're feeding. We've got one chance. This thing has already come after Asher. We know it's going to come after Michael next. We use him as bait. Like that's the only chance we have to kill this thing. It only goes after kids. It's going to spot us. It's going to know. And here's where he said, it's my fault. I screwed up. All these kids are dead, are dying. All these kids are sick because of me. And we get the and it goes back into a flashback. Maybe it doesn't. No, sorry. I thought
No.
we were going to get another flashback. There's one coming.
Yeah,
We had a very intense stare
there
from
is one
Dean.
coming.
There's one
Yeah.
coming. I thought it was here because we had this very intense stare from Dean. And this is before we go into the flashback, this is where Sam, to your point, Sam's known
Yeah.
something is going on here and he's finally putting his foot down. And he's saying, "All
Yeah.
right, Dean, you've been hiding this all the time. Okay, here we are. Now we're back." And Dean is saying it's been 3 days in this locked in this motel room. He's climbing the walls. He just needed to go out and get some fresh air. You can see he looks back into the room where Sam is asleep. The light is off, the bedroom door is open. He leaves
He locks
and
the door.
he locks the door behind him. He heads to the office. They've got a couple of video games in the lobby of the motel. He goes in to play those. We don't know how long he's there exactly, but it's enough that, the owner comes and says like, "Okay, we're packing up, time for you to go." Dean walks back to the motel room past a couple of faux wood panel station wagons, which my family had one of those when I was growing up. And immediately we've got this great shot of Ridge with like this kind of slice of light on his face. So now the bedroom light in the bed in where Sam was asleep, now the light is on and the door is closed.
And
And
you
I
immediately see when he walks in and it's like, "Oh fuck."
he knows something's wrong. He pushes
Yeah.
open the door and he can see the Striga bent over Sam, and he picks up the shotgun that John had left propped up next to the door. He gets the shotgun out, and you can see he's scared and he
Oh,
can't
yeah.
pull the trigger. John comes back just in the nick of time, shoots the Striga a couple of times with his pistol. The Striga goes out the window. John keeps firing. He checks Sam. Sam is all right. Thank God, Sam is okay. And here comes Dean, like poking his head around the edge of the door frame. He knows he's in trouble. John gave him two orders, and he didn't do either of them. And he's saying he went out. John is enraged, and you can see him like, I told you not to leave this room. I told you not to let him out of your sight. And like, oh goodness, the disappointment on John's face. Now I gotta say honestly, I think the one John is really mad at is himself because he's the one who left the boys alone. Um, but Dean is saying like he knew John blamed him. John gave him an order, he didn't follow it, and Sam nearly died. And now it's resurfaced 16 or 17 years later, and it's hurting kids again. And all of this, Dean thinks, is on him. So I think this explains a couple of things. I think it explains, and he's about to even say it, this is why he follows orders unquestioningly, because the one time he didn't, he nearly lost his brother. I think it also explains why Dean is such a shoot first, ask questions later guy, because John told him, you take the shot, and he didn't. And again, he almost lost his brother. So we like what this flashback we just saw here is so foundational to who Dean is. And I think the way they handle it is great. I think Ridge Kenite delivers great performance, especially considering how young he was. So it's a great scene. Go ahead, Lynn. I see you've paused it.
And I love the look on Jensen's face right when they bring it back around. Like
He's like a little
he's
boy.
not he's not crying,
Nope.
but he's damn close. Like you can see the emotion welled up in his face, like that facial expression. And he is not even facing Sam. At least I don't believe he is. But
No, no.
it just says everything. Like he's just ripped his heart like basically completely open and completely opened himself up, which is something, as we all know, Dean does very rarely.
He's very
Very, very
hesitant to
rare.
do that. Yeah, no, you're right. And there's a couple things I really love about Jensen's performance here. One is like when it switches back to him from Ridge, the way Jensen has composed his face is very childlike. Like compared to what we saw 5 minutes ago when he was about to, burn a clip into the doctor just on principle. Like this is a great performance choice on his part. The other thing, and I can't say very much about this right now, but this is something this blocking where Dean is confessing something he's ashamed to tell his brother, and Sam is kind of behind him over his shoulder. This is some blocking we're going to see in another episode a few seasons from now. And it has almost a confessional, not in a reality television confessional with a camera in your face,
No,
but like in the
no.
religious sense where you go to confession
Question.
and the person you're talking to is not visible to you, and it's almost like the sensation is almost like you're talking to yourself. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it
no,
it lets you open up more when you don't have to look another person in the eye when you're
yeah,
saying something you've done that you're ashamed of.
yeah, no. I mean, being Catholic myself, I could not agree with that statement more.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm the first one when people, because I'm part of a ministry that helps bring people into the church. And one thing I will say to them is if you're nervous, go behind the screen because it is easier to talk when
Easier.
you're not staring the priest in the face because that can be a little intimidating.
It's a little intimidating, if you're
Yeah.
trying to talk to someone about something you feel you've done wrong,
Yeah.
not having to look them in the eye sometimes helps bring that up. So I don't want to pause here too long.
No.
Otherwise, we're gonna be still talking about this episode tomorrow. But
Yeah.
yeah, keep your eye out. This is some blocking we're gonna see again later in the
Yeah.
series. So, all right, hitting play. Um, so as Lynn said, Sam is behind Dean. Dean is not making eye contact, and you can see it. I mean, my goodness, look what Jared does here too. Like you can just see him like suddenly he understands something about his brother that he's not understood in 22 or 23 years. You know, the
Mhm.
the the weight that he realizes his brother carries,
Mhm.
and the responsibility of for taking care of him. Like he's starting to piece this together here. So again, Sam is trying to talk Dean out of using the kid as bait. And Dean is like, I don't like it either, but this is the way that it is.
Look at
Uh,
his facial expression right
oh
there.
yeah.
Oh my
Uh,
god, if that doesn't rip your heart out, I don't know
Oh
what
yeah.
will.
Great performances from both of them there. And so they go talk to the kid, and the kid is like, no, you freaking crazy. I'm calling the police. And which I think is a very natural reaction. Like two dudes come up, tell you there's a monster that killed your brother, like, or tried to kill your brother. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy talk.
Mhm.
But Michael saw it
Yes.
and he starts to describe it. And he's like, I thought it was a nightmare. Like, it, you mean that was real? So
Oh,
um,
well, I love this next line.
I'd
"I'd
give
give
anything not to
anything
tell you
not to
this.
tell you, but sometimes nightmares are real." I
Yeah.
love that line.
It's a great line, it's a great line, and they're saying to him, like, "We need your help," so I do like that they don't trick the boy into doing it, they give him a choice, they're gonna give him a choice again a little later. Um, that being said, I started to say something earlier and we moved on, but the "something wicked" is a line from the Scottish play, and it one of the themes of that play of Macbeth is it's okay, nobody's performing any plays in my house, I can say it. It is this somebody being driven to extreme lengths to accomplish their goals. And so we do see that with Dean. I love this performance from Jared there in the back where the initially, Michael says, "No way, no way," but then he shows up and he says to Dean, "You said you're a big brother. You take care of your little brother. You do anything for him." And Dean's like, "Yeah, I would." And you could just
I
look
love
at
that
this
look.
face. Look at that face from Sam. Jared, oh my goodness, Jared does such a good job. Um, like, and he
Oh,
sees it like It okay, I didn't piece it together, because he was small, so this is really the first point where, again, I know I've said it, but, Sam starts to piece together just how much Dean did for him. So you've paused it. Go ahead.
just because I couldn't let that scene go without commenting on the lighting on Jared Padalecki in
Yeah.
that scene
Well,
with
both
the
of them
fact that
really.
yeah, well, and the funny and I literally just noticed it. The
Yeah.
fact that it's dark on the bookend side, and then, like, just the way that lighting is on their face, and then
Yeah.
it's light on the like, the lighting in this scene is the
It's
way it's
really
split
interesting. Yeah.
is awesome.
It is where, so we're on the screen, you can see that from our perspective, the left side of Dean's face is dark, right side is lit. On Sam in the back, the left side is lit and the right side is dark. So yeah, it has kind of a bookend look. And it's something I've commented on before that Dean is really half a person without his brother.
Yeah,
And so it is kind of interesting what they do here with the lighting. You're absolutely right.
I was just oh,
Mm. Uh,
I couldn't let that scene go without commenting on that.
yeah, no, this is great. So we've hit play. We've got a little black screen here. Uh, so before they left, Michael's mom told him to put the no vacancy sign on. So they've done that. So they're not expecting any guests to come in. They're setting up these night vision cameras, and I think Dean is doing a pretty good job of like explaining everything. The one thing that stands out to me is, so he's going through all this. He's telling Michael, just stay in the bed. Don't worry. We're good shots. We won't miss. As soon as this thing comes in, get under the bed. We'll wait to shoot it till you're out of the way. Here's the thing that bothers me. Dean knows this thing is only vulnerable when it's feeding. So I don't know if he's being entirely truthful here, or it like, is he deliberately lying to Michael? Like, don't worry, we won't shoot till you're out of the way, knowing they can't do that? Or is this like a script flaw? And I genuinely don't know the answer to that question. Um but again, he gives Michael another chance to say no if he wants to, and you can see that Michael's really determined. It reminds me of a story, and I'm trying to recall where I read this, but um, a family had a sick kid. Their older child, they needed a blood donation from the older sibling to save the younger one. And they asked the older one, is it okay? Can we do this? So they got permission. Kid says yes. They're taking the blood for the blood donation. And I forget exactly what the kid says, but it's something like, it was like the kid thought they were going to take all her blood and she was going to die to save her sister. And so they realized there'd been a miscommunication there, but that she honestly believing they were going to take all her blood and she was going to die, she was still willing to donate to save her sister. Um, so I think we see a little bit of that with Michael here, that he's willing to risk his life for his brother. So we've got the creepy hand coming against
Yeah.
the window again. So the Striga is breaking in. It's a great performance from this actor. Um, the boys are getting ready. Notice the handguns that they're carrying here. Jared is carrying one with an engraved slide. Dean is carrying one with a plain slide. They're gonna switch weapons next season. But for so if you're used to Dean carrying that gun with the engraved slide, Sam is the one with it. Here comes the Striga into the room. They're watching the camera. Sam wants to go in, and Dean is like, "No, not yet. If the Striga's not feeding, nothing we do matters." So Dean is really like holding on this. The Striga attacks Michael. Again, we've got Emperor Palpatine. They
Yep.
come in, and Dean wasn't lying. They tell Michael to
Yeah.
get down. They
Yeah.
shoot the Striga. Striga collapses. Dean is holding his gun the proper way this time, so that makes me happy. They check on Michael. Michael's under the bed. They're coming around to see if the Striga is dead. Now they should know that the Striga is not dead. But now we've got some circular storytelling from what we saw if in the flashback. Um, so they're standing there, tense moment where they're like, "Did we get it? Did we get it? Oh, we got it! Yay!" No, didn't get it.
Yep.
That is, there's a lot that happens quickly here. That was choke. Dean gets thrown against the
Against the
wall. Sam
wall.
gets thrown against the wall. Dean is unconscious. Sam loses his weapons. So we're going to check our cards in a minute. For four things, Sam is trying to get to the gun. He can't. The Striga is starting to feed on him. There's some great effects here. Um, where
Oh,
we
and
can
you look.
see
Oh,
it
you
like,
see his skin change.
yep. And Dean comes to and shoots that thing right between the eyes. And the first thing he says is, "Are you okay, little brother?" So we've got something close to a reenactment of the flashback, and Dean takes the shot. So this is a nice redemption arc for him.
Yeah.
The Striga starts to, breathe out the life force that it's taken from the kids. Dean puts a couple more rounds in it just for good measure. I'm gonna pause this here as he's telling Michael it's okay to come out from under the bed. Okay, so we need Dean gets thrown against the wall,
Well,
Sam drops his weapon, a choke, and one of the boys gets knocked out.
all right, if I only have one, okay, one of the boys drops his weapon. I got that. Someone gets thrown against a wall. I have that.
I
I have one of the boys gets choked. Holy shit. It's gonna be one really big thing. And yeah, I think three is
um
yeah,
I
I
don't
had a lot of them.
I have someone gets thrown against a wall. I
I got
have
yep, I had that one too.
someone gets thrown against a wall. That's it.
Oh
That's
my
all
god,
I
I
got.
had one of the boy drops his weapon, someone gets choked, and someone gets thrown against a wall.
You have gotten all of the good luck this episode. I'm just double
Yeah.
checking, but no, a wee skosh for me.
And I'm doing a little bit heavier one for me because that's a triple.
You got three.
Woo! Holy
All
crap.
right. We're
I'm
close
not
to
used
the
to
end
drinking that.
here.
I'm not used to drinking that much bourbon in one shot. Holy shit.
Did you just pour it all over yourself?
No, no, I did not. It all ended up in my mouth. It just, I'm not used to having that big of a sip, so it kind of, woo!
Oh, there's so many jokes I could make right now. So many jokes.
Oh, God, I love you.
So many. And I don't think your husband would like any of them. Moving on. So Michael is fine. Michael is out from under the bed. They're
I think,
excited. And something that Michael had asked earlier is if I do this, can we save my brother? And Dean said, honestly, I don't know. But so now the Striga has kind of collapsed into a pile of dust, which poor housekeeping is going to have a giant mess on their hands. Dean is here carrying the same duffel bag that we saw in the flashback that John carries. The mother is home from the hospital. She's getting Michael and she's telling him Ash is going to be just fine. No one can explain it. It's a miracle. She's saying they're going to keep the kids overnight for observation, but everybody's starting to get better. Um, so Sam and Dean have saved the day.
yay.
Funny thing though, Dr. Heidecker didn't come into work today. Nobody knows where he is.
Oh, what a
So,
shame.
poor Dr. Heidecker. I hope he feels better soon. She asked Ash if anything out of the ordinary happened while they were gone. No, no, everything's totally normal. I'm gonna go get in the car so we can go see Ash.
I love
Which
that. I better get in there before he hot wires it. I'm like, God, that is
which again
so.
is something Dean would have
He
done
would do. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
at that age. So I love this little parting conversation the boys have where, Sam is saying like this is a shame. Michael is always going to know that there are monsters out there in the dark. And Sam says sometimes I wish that I could have that kind of innocence. And um we've got this great kind of last line from Dean where he says if it means anything, sometimes I wish you could too.
Notice how
Um
he doesn't say, I wish we could.
No, no, I wish you could. Yeah, great catch. You're absolutely right. And the song that's playing here as they get into the car and drive off into the sunset is Road to Nowhere by Ozzy Osbourne, which is if if you have a chance, listen to that one. It's got some great lyrics that I think go with this moment pretty nicely. So that is it. That is our episode. And it actually, you won't, the song that they're playing with Netflix is not that, but they have picked kind of a nice one where it's talking about having the lyrics are like having the weight of the world on your shoulders. So they don't have the original music there, but they still tried to pick one that made
Mm.
sense. So, all right. That is it. That is our episode. So, Lynn, one thing you loved, one thing you hated.
One thing I loved is it is easy for me. Um,
Mhm.
and I know I've said this before, but as I've watched more of the show, is this takes on new meaning.
Mm,
What I loved is Jensen Ackles' performance.
mm,
As I had mentioned in the beginning, how this whole thing had massive vibes from the pilot, all like to just oozing out of it.
yeah,
And now you see, and I know I've said this multiple times, the layers of his performance. And now you like he's had now some time to really get his arms around Dean and all of that and really come in. And I feel like you saw that screaming, like you saw every angle of that come out in this and the emotion, like just everything. I loved his performance in this. I
yeah.
thought it was just phenomenal. Absolutely
I
phenomenal.
agree. And something you hated.
I really had to think about this one. Like,
Yeah, that's a tough one.
as I say, I'm being, I've got to be like this one's, I'm being a nitpicky on this one because really, there's nothing I really didn't like.
And that's happened to me. We
Yeah,
can we can leave it there with a what did you hate? Nothing.
I mean, I think the only thing that kind of frustrated me
Mm,
is I felt like I mean, but then I kinda understood it the more you said it is on the surface, the old lady, like, I felt like he kind of went for that one a little too easily, but then
he did.
as you said, it was the shoot first, ask questions later, but then in my head, though, I feel like Sam would not have just let him, not as much as he would have been able to allow Dean to do anything. He would not have gone, he would not have just, I can't come up with the word right now,
I don't think
thanks
that
to
Sam would have let Dean kill her without some evidence. I think he's there to be a safety net for Dean. Like, okay, Dean, you feel strongly about this. We're going to go together. And we're going to make like I don't based on what we've seen from Sam in other episodes of the show, I don't think Sam lets him kill her without being convinced himself she's the Striga. Not to mention the fact it wouldn't do any good because
she wasn't.
if the Striga's not feeding, she's not vulnerable.
So yeah, so like that, there were a couple of things about that scene that just kind of bothered me.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
but again, I'm being uber nitpicky
Yeah,
because I saw the point to the scene.
right.
Um, but I kind of like again, I had to be super uber nitpicky to come up with
Yeah,
something I really didn't like because the episode is phenomenal,
I
absolutely
agree.
phenomenal.
Agree. And for me, I've already kind of mentioned them both myself. Like for me, I love all the backstory. They've been
Yeah.
hinting at it this long. Finally, 5 episodes before the end of the series. Now they're making or this season. Excuse me. We've got a long way to go before the end of the season.
Yeah.
before the end of the season, they're making it explicit, and again, I love that they make it clear why Dean is the way he is, and I think that's something really beautiful about this episode. And again, I don't hate it, but if we're gonna be nitpicky and we're gonna try to pick up something to say maybe isn't quite as smooth as it could have been. It's the comment I made about the mom letting Dean drive her to the hospital seemed a little strange to me. All right. Well, before we go, we have gotten a comment from Saheli Duta 6939. And if I have not said your name correctly, please let us know in the comments and I will make that right. But Saheli writes, wow, it feels like watching my favorite series with my old buddies. Love you and keep uploading the videos. So thank you so much for your comment. We love hearing from our SPN family, and we're glad that you're enjoying what we're doing here. So you keep watching, and we'll keep making them.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. We love even just trying to come up with, because you guys have said more than once, like, to try and increase the number of videos that we're making. So Liz and I are having a lot of fun just trying to come up with creative ways to make more videos. So
Hmm.
definitely keep those comments coming in, and if you can come up, if you think of things that even not even just the season, um the season ending episode that we've already talked about, but other things that you want Liz and I to touch up on, like to talk about, that would make like just a bonus episode, please feel free to put them in the
Yeah,
comments, and she and I will make a bonus episode about it. We we
yeah.
we love doing that kind of thing.
We do, absolutely. So, as Lynn said, you please feel free to comment on the videos, like, subscribe, tell your friends about us. You can also send us an email at hunterfuelpodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hunter Fuel Podcast. I am calling that last call.
I say
Cheers, my friend.
I'm gonna join you on that one, my darling.
Waiting, waiting, waiting.
Wait.
Hmm?
Ah, yum yums.
All right, folks. In our next episode, we'll be watching season 1, episode 19, Provenance, when Sam develops an appreciation for art gallery owners' daughters. Until then, be safe, everybody.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.